Welcome back to RC Dirt Oval, the podcast. This is your host, Andy Zeller, and I welcome you today to a short episode. Had some technical difficulties, spent all last night and this morning trying to edit out my interview with Garrett Williamson, and there were a ton of different audio issues and camera issues and stuff that has now been since sorted out, but I don't think that the footage would be salvageable enough for a good episode to really, showcase Garrett as well as we should. Garrett's, really big part of the RC community here locally, and I already have him planned, hopefully, to come back and reshoot that episode. So hopefully we'll have him next Friday if his schedule permits, and we'll get him back in here to talk about the factory RC and his personal racing career. So apologies for the not having that available to you guys today. Just kind of bumping out here to shoot this episode quick and get it out to you. This past weekend, Loco Joe's ran the Bunker Hill Nationals. We had Jeff on last week. They broke their attendance record there with 67 drivers and 124 total entries. Great weekend of racing. It was great weather and just an all-around enjoyable time. Big shout out to everybody that was involved in that event. Jeff, obviously, Joe from the hobby shop, Scott for announcing, Gary Martin for his tech work, everybody that participated in that. It was a flawless ran show. Everything moved really smooth, and for the number of drivers and entries, we got out there in a reasonable time. So anytime you can really get through that much in a single day, it's definitely worth it. Again, won't have Garrett for this episode, but I'll read some results. Pheasantland ran Saturday, 13.5 sprint. Stephen Weller was in third. Corey Milligan was second, and Perry Hutter got the win. Mudboss Gary Labe was in third, Stephen Weller was second, and Travis Unglert was first. Traxxas Mudboss Gary Labe was in third, Andrew Martin was second, and Travis Unglert got the win in that as well. The Bunker Hill Nationals, I read the results for that. U15, Brandy Schaefer was third, Tyler Pittman was second, and Matthew Cole got the win. Late model, Todd Ravel made the trip down, representing the underdog guys. He came in third for late model. Kane Metzger was second, and Dwayne Gutshaw got the win. 13.5 Mudboss Jacob Kidwell was third. Kevin Parlett was second, and Bryson Durden was first. 360 Sprint was Dale Hartzell in third, Kane Metzger in second, and Lance Batdorf in first. 410 Sprint, Kyle Loy got third, Lance Batdorf was second, and Dwayne Gutshaw got the win. Buggy Street Stock, Gabe Gordon was third, Caden Moreland was second, and Kevin Parlett was first. Crate Late, Mike Immel was third, Gary Martin second, and Todd Ravel, the underdog, got the win in Crate Late. Midget, Zach Swanser was third, Nate Gill second, and Kyle Loy got the win. Short Course Street Stock, Jeff Mawhinney was third, Matt Cole was second, and Scott Cole was first. Mudboss Jacob Kidwell was third, Shane Warner was second, and Bryson Durden was first. Traxxas Modified, Steve Keeney was third, Gary Martin second, and Jeff Mawhinney got the win. And that'll round out all the Bunker Hill results and move to Sunday. Ultimate RC ran I believe their final points race, 13.5 sprint. Third was Howard Young, second Rick Cox, and first Brett Hollinger. 17.5 sprint, George Vartzik got third, Phil Marabella and James Henry got the win. Midget, Phil Marabella was third, John Pauly second, and Brett Hollinger got the win. Mini Mudboss Matt Kirkpatrick was third, John Pauly was second, and Glenn Killian got the win. Savage Sprint, Jimmy Fulton got third, Glenn Killian was second, and Matt Kirkpatrick was first. Mudboss was the exact same results. Jimmy Fulton in third, Glenn Killian in second, and Matt Kirkpatrick in the win. Traxxas Modified, Barney Tan was third, Joshua Truitt was second, and Kerry Siegfried was first. Looking ahead to this weekend, First Capital RC will have the Haunted 100 this evening. Starts at 6 o'clock. Track will open at 5. We'll have pizza provided by Marco's Pizza of West York. Extremely grateful for their participation. and I got to do some medal awards, little medals for first through third for tonight. 3 make a class. There's no specific classes running on the program tonight, just 3 make a class. And then tomorrow is the swap meet showdown, which starts with the swap meet that begins at 11 o'clock, and that'll go till about 2. And then we'll start the actual racing event at around 2 o'clock. Specific classes for that, I believe there's 9: rookie, novice, Mudboss, 13.5 Mudboss, crate late, bandit late model, 13.5 sprint, midget, and I don't know if and Traxxas mod. I think that's all 9. I didn't count, but those can be found on the Facebook event page for the swap meet weekend. Hope to see a bunch of people out there. I made the announcement yesterday on Facebook that this will be our last race at that current location. So if you've come out to First Capital in the past, or if you haven't, to this weekend's your last opportunity to race on the high banks of First Capital RC and its current location. Since I didn't have Garrett on this episode, I guess I can dive a little bit into what's going on with that and kind of touch on some track owner perspective. There is a ton of work that goes into running an RC track and a ton of sacrifice. And I don't think people would understand that or expect that necessarily if they're not involved in it directly. Like, I know as a racer, it's nice when we get to this past weekend, drive down to West Virginia and stay at a campground and just, show up, get our cars out, set up our table and run a race. And that's great. And that's fun and enjoyable and the best part of the sport that we love. But there's so much work that goes into allowing us to be able to do that. And I'm aware of that because of having a track. And I think a lot of people, myself included, I think when I started First Capital, I was like, man, I'd be able to do that. Like, I have some really good ideas and I have some ways that I think I could contribute to the hobby. And by having another track, I think that I could focus on the things that I'm really good at and allow for that to shine through to the racers on their end. And, it's pretty early into it as far as how long First Capital has been around. This is the end of our second season. And I've learned so much along the way. I've had a ton of help from great people. And ultimately, there's still more to learn and still more that I need to figure out moving forward. I think the biggest part that a lot of people don't really think about or may not understand from a racer perspective to a track owner is the sacrifice. This season in particular, there were so many times that I stopped and I'm like, man, like the whole weekend's gone. Like, I feel like I had no time to relax or like clear my mind at all, just because of all of the different things that go into your racetrack. There's the whole physical preparation where you have to, maintain the track. And for a track like First Capital that's in the woods, the first step of that always is getting rid of everything that falls down on the track. It's a blessing to have a track that's surrounded by trees in the heat of the summer because it's a lot cooler. The track doesn't dry out as much. I think for the Fringer Memorial, we really, in the scheme of how hot it was, we really didn't have to water it all that much for that track to hold the whole day and give us good racing the entire time. So it's a blessing to be in the trees and in that cover, but it's also a curse, especially come fall time, because there's just a ton of stuff that just constantly is falling on the track. And then if it rains at all and the track's wet, the leaves tend to get stuck in the surface, and you got to scrape it and get all that off before you can even start worrying about, shaping it or figuring anything else out. So uh, that's step one. You got to be able to, you know, prepare the surface so that you're giving your racers something that isn't junk and isn't going to make the racing experience less enjoyable. So always giving a top notch surface is I think step one, and that takes a lot of time. I've had some help through the first 2 seasons handling some of that. I've also gotten advice from other people that have come and raced at the track, and Garrett's an example of that. And Howard has offered assistance and stuff like that. So it's definitely nice to have a community of other track owners and people that understand that end of it to help you, but it's still a sacrifice of time to do it. So aside from that, there's the whole marketing and promotional end that is a whole other animal. It's luckily enough, I design and come from that type of background with a website, with flyers, anything like that, that I can handle all of that stuff for the track, and that certainly helps from a cost perspective. But it certainly adds another workload, and I know there's plenty of other track owners out there that are doing that stuff themselves too. It's just really sometimes difficult to do every little piece of running a track. And I just thought that would be something worth sharing. I know as a racer, I don't think of any of that stuff when I show up to a place. I'm there to race, and that's all I really worry about. So I would assume that's, most racers' mentality. And it's nice to see, that stuff happens, and it happens obviously because these are businesses, and you have to provide the best product for your customers. But to think that any of the track owners in this area or out there in general are making a killing or becoming millionaires off this is not the case by any means. We don't do this, I don't think. And I speak for all the track owners. We don't do this for money. We do it because it's something that we love doing. And those sacrifices are worth it because we love doing it. We love giving the community a good product and seeing people come enjoy the surface. I mean, and the event in general. And Mike Merkel is an example right now. Like, you can tell. I think yesterday was his birthday, and there were videos of him bringing in more dirt. So that dude is spending his birthday working on preparing an indoor facility there for the winter to race on. I mean, that's obviously, something that he has to love a lot to sacrifice that time and that effort. So, just from a racer's perspective, thank you to all the track owners out there. The other track owners, I know that you guys do it for the same reasons, and I just wanted to shed some light on that. In more detail to it being the last race at First Capital, there's definitely a list of pros and cons that I made based on that location. And I'm sure anybody that's been there could understand those same pros and cons, and you probably have your own list of them as well. And they're probably a lot of the same on both of our lists. It's tough because, we've put so much time into, and I say we because there's been people other than myself that have sacrificed and put in a ton of time to make First Capital what it is right now. But moving forward, it's something that I'm at a point this season. I was ready to invest more in making that track better, and came to a point where the reliability end of that location being something for the long term that would allow even just the opportunity to break even off of another large investment uh, doesn't doesn't seem likely anymore. Our landlord there, Carol, was a total sweetheart and has been since day one. Um, I didn't meet Carol when my wife and I originally got married on that property. Um, that's a little backstory tidbit if you don't know. Um, my wife and I got married at that location where First Capital is, actually right down from the track in the woods is where we had our ceremony. Um, and it so happened that we worked out this deal 2 years ago and set up a 5-year lease to move forward and start constructing the track and operating it there. Obviously, it worked out from like a township perspective and everything like that, because that was one of the issues we saw early on, is that it's very difficult to maneuver around township regulations and stuff like that when it comes to operating a commercial business, let alone a commercial event business. So it's very specific, and you have to have certain qualifications and everything like that. And with having a space that was designated as a wedding venue and a campground, it totally covered like everything that we were looking to do out of that location. So it certainly worked. As I said, Carol was a total sweetheart, has been the entire time we've worked with her. She's just getting older, and it's not going to be something that she's able to maintain forever, as far as leasing agreement or anything like that. And that's totally understandable and reasonable. So with that, that message and that being clear to us in the wake of wanting to invest heavily again in upgrades and stuff like that, we have just decided to move forward and go in a different direction. And I guess I'll just break it on here, because I was going to do a different episode and announce it and do like a live on Facebook, which I still will, but I'll just make it on this episode. We are moving to Deer Run Campground. The track will be called Deer Run RC Raceway. It's already started. The construction, there's already a track there. We just need to put our touch on it and upgrade some things. We're looking to start moving stuff after this weekend, and hopefully have a race or two here before it gets too cold at the end of the season. So the last week in October, look out for we'll announce that stuff formally as we know. But this arrangement is way better than I was anticipating finding. I looked for other locations. Those that are closest to me and the track know that I found a location last year that we were going to move to that was both indoor and outdoor. We were trying to put together a deal at the beginning of this year that was indoor and outdoor. And we kind of always knew like we were going to have to step away from where we're at now. But we ended up finding this deal. Shout out to Barry Arnst, one of our regular racers. He has been communicating with me since the start on this. I think last year at the factory, we were talking, and he was saying, hey, we're building a track at the campground that I help at. And Barry does security at this campground, and I believe has a seasonal spot and everything like that. And had mentioned every step of the way that he was doing this track, and I was hoping to get up there and they just have like kind of exhibition races, no timing system or anything like that. But uh, I was hoping to make it for one of those events, and I just didn't have a chance to this year. But knowing that information, I reached out to Barry, and then from there reached out to Zach, the owner at the campground, and uh, started talking about possible arrangements to conduct our races there. And it sounded from the very beginning of talking with Zach, it was a perfect fit. Zach is very passionate about it. You can tell he's passionate about everything there, and he's willing to help and make it better, and has a very similar vision, and was very open to the vision that I had when we first talked. So I know it's a further distance than where we're at now, and hopefully that doesn't affect us long term. But the ability to provide our customers with more for their dollar is something big. And this was something that Howard and I discussed off camera. I think he might have touched on it in the episode a little bit. With Ultimate, they want to provide the best bang for your buck. The economy's tough right now. People don't have a ton of extra money. So being able to provide more for your dollar is certainly a responsibility that us track owners are trying to keep aside of. So with this arrangement, the $20 that you would pay to race one class will also include access to the entire campground facilities, as far as they have a swimming pool, they have a big pond that you can fish in, they have summer concerts and a ton of different activities and stuff like that. So to be able to give our racers the opportunity to come spend the same amount of money they would spend somewhere else to race, and also get added value with that, and seeing the possibility that we could have a race on a Saturday night, and somebody could bring their whole family, and obviously the racer would pay the $20 to race one class, or 35 unlimited, and other non-participating people would have to pay $5 for a visitor fee. But I mean, other than that, you could spend the entire day with your family swimming, just hanging out and having fun. And then, when you want to practice on the track, you're able to practice on the track. You can just hang out and do whatever you want. And then by race time, you're ready to go. So hopefully that's something that, I believe would benefit a lot of people and interest a lot of people. So hopefully that sticks when we make the move. But we're going to do everything we can to make top quality racing surface and give everybody the best event that we can give them. And hopefully it'll be a great fit for everybody. So that's really the meat and potatoes of what's going on with First Capital. The name, like I said, will now be Deer Run RC Raceway. All of that will be accessible through Facebook, through our website, everything like that. So stay tuned for that information. And I guess to wrap this up, we'll looking forward. Obviously, I said the last two races at First Capital, Friday and Saturday. Pheasantland is also racing Friday night. Loco Joe's is racing Saturday, and then Ultimate RC is racing on Sunday. I believe Ultimate just posted yesterday as well, or maybe 2 days ago. This coming Wednesday evening, they're going to race because the weather looks like it's going to be really nice. So I'm going to try in every way I can to make it out to that race. So hopefully I'll be able to see a bunch of you out there. Again, thank you guys so much for your support. Sorry this episode's a little different today, but we'll try and get Garrett on as soon as possible, preferably before the indoor season starts here. Just got to make sure his schedule works out. And then I have some other awesome guests lined up as well. So to everybody out there, thank you so much for your support. Subscribe and make sure to follow along for the next episode next Friday. And I hope you guys have a great weekend of racing, and hopefully the weather's not too terribly cold here, and we can still enjoy some outdoor stuff before we wrap up and move to the inside stuff for the winter. So hope you all have a great week, a great weekend, and until the next one, thank you.